If you tell a robot not to kill people, does that mean kneecapping people is okay?
We're gonna kill that guy.
Of course, I'm a Terminator.
To me, that's the real threat. Building a system that then has some unanticipated side effect.
But like a legitimate AI appearing, I don't know that we have, as a society, have given a lot of thought into what that means.
When I saw the first Terminator movie in the 80s, it turned out to be smarter than people expected. Biometrics and AI.
Most of our thinking about AIs and most of our thinkings about the ethics of AIs, the ethics of robotics, have occurred in science fiction. Robots have been with cinema from the beginning. I mean, the most famously is Metropolis. In the 40s and 50s, your robots are real clunky. It's like the robot in Forbidden Planet. But you don't get a sense of real deep character from that. That begins to change, I think, most notably with 2001.
Open the pod bay doors, Hal.
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that.
Also, a big stepping stone on the way to Terminator films is Westworld. Like silent running. Robots change from tools to characters.
Hey, now just a minute. What have I said about talking between you guys? Now, come on, that's not fair.
If this is what the general public thinks of as AI, then we have a huge problem. Well, artificial intelligence is a very broad term, and it's used to refer to a whole variety of technologies: natural language processing, machine learning, robotics.
A lot of artificial intelligence is not so much about creating computers that can do everything humans can, although there are people working on that. But it's more about using computers to solve problems. A very mundane kind of artificial intelligence is your spam filter.
One of the opening scenes where Arnold Schwarzenegger is looking for a motorcycle. He looks at one bike, is able to immediately recognize what the make and model of the bike is, then is able to look up the detailed characteristics of the bike, whether or not it's going to meet his requirements. So that's the kind of stuff you could actually do today. They're training these essentially neural net systems to do these very complicated kinds of tasks. One task is actually vision processing, which for years has been sort of one of these really hard tasks. In the movie Skynet, right, is the system that was supposed to be defending the country, and at some point it reaches a decision that it should basically wipe out humankind.
There are films that talk about AIs running amok with nuclear weapons, like War Game. You don't have to go all the way there. There are questions that we're asking, for example, about drones. Should drones be allowed to kill people? Right, there are some people who don't think soldiers should kill people, right? And so machines definitely should not kill people. There are people who are okay with soldiers killing people, but not with machines. There are people who are okay with machines and soldiers killing people.
I am Simon Borgen. We are with Dr. Isaac Asimov, a biochemist who may be the most widely read of all science fiction writers.
Isaac Asimov wrote The Laws of Robotics.
The first law was that a robot couldn't hurt a human being. The second law was that a robot had to obey orders given it by human beings. And the third law was that a robot had to protect its own existence.
The Laws of Robotics are obviously just a thing he wrote for his robots stories and novels, but they've sort of become the foundational thing.
If we're not very careful about instilling some kind of rules and say, well, I don't want you to destroy anything, right?
The AI isn't evil. I mean, that's the thing that Cameron picked up from Arthur C. Clarke. If you remove the idea of judgment from this machine, it's just this inexorable force that's doing what it thinks is right. To say the two words, climate change, and that explains why the idea of any kind of AI taking over the planet would be, of course, completely terrifying because humans kind of befoul the planet.
Y2K. What does it mean?
You remember Y2K and how freaked out everyone was about Y2K? Well, one of the big things that people always cited was like, well, we have these gigantic water systems all over the world that are run by very few people and mostly by computers. And what happens if the date resets on those computers, and is everyone going to die? Everyone in Los Angeles talks about the big earthquake that we might get someday, right? And if that happens, where are you going to get your water?
When the city was founded in 1781, it was along the banks of the LA River. By the time we get to the 1930s, and you see the river looking in photos almost like an ocean.
And the Army Corps of Engineers came in and did what they do, which is to
dig out the LA River, pour 3 million tons of concrete.
It does one thing and one thing really well. It moves water out to sea. And of course, in this 4-year drought, it's a design that needs rethinking.
What ended up happening is a kind of amnesia where we knew the river, but mostly through this film noir infused liminal space, always kind of dereliction, of darkness.
The Oscar goes to Gene Warren Jr., Terminator 2, Judgment Day.
First Terminator was a low-budget picture.
The first Terminator, everything was quarter scale, which meant...
sixth.
Sixth scale, excuse me. Yeah, T2 was quarter scale. So you're taking something that's big and you're reducing it down. The nice thing about miniatures is you're still building it out of steel. You're still building it out of cement.
A hell of a lot of stuff going on. And it's all choreographed in, and it all happens for real as if it was done live action. And if you're able to pull that off and in camera and fool people, you know, so they don't recognize that it's scale models, you can't beat that. Computers are stupid. I mean, they're only as smart as their programmer. They're misused and overused today in filmmaking.
As you got into the CGI world, pay attention to the fact that 200 pounds can move from here to there at a certain distance in reality, and that's it. It ain't gonna do it any faster than that. But in the CGI world, I don't care, I'll make it go faster. And then the audience goes, well, why is that thing moving false? That doesn't look real. Well, because it's not. It's doing something that defies the atmosphere and gravity that we live in.
You had to have talent to do an awful lot of these jobs. What's happened is people have been de-skilled. So you can pay them less, is the big reason.
And if the computers are doing everything for you, then what purpose do you, but to sit around and be like Wall-E and everybody's just floating around, wait,
right.
They can't think on their, you know. I don't want to be part of a society like that.
Terminator 2 was a tough movie. It was 7 months long. We worked 16, 17, 18-hour days. So I was there first thing in the morning getting Arnold and whoever into the makeup, hair, wardrobe. He was a presence.
You guys are sacking me out here early in the morning, huh?
I mean, as early back as Pumping Iron, you watch that, and there's a guy who has charisma. I knew Arnold knew like 7 or more languages. He had already gotten real estate investments. He opened a restaurant. He had all this stuff going on for him, and then...
I'm running for governor to lead a movement for change.
When they announced that Arnold was governor, it wasn't like a big surprise.
Which job do I really enjoy most? Is it being a bodybuilder, or an actor, or the governor? Thank you. It is our moment to pick up the torch of a clean energy future and march forward relentlessly, like a Terminator.
There's a lot of problems that we as a species is facing that is really getting out of reach of our own ability to understand.
Like climate change, the opportunity is to use technology to better leverage our own abilities and to actually use it to help us solve these problems. So there's been a lot of recent discussions about how dangerous AI is and how it can have these terrible effects.
But I think the development of full artificial intelligence could spell the end of the human race.
Stephen Hawking and Elon Musk have come out against AI, right?
Huge server bank in a dark vault somewhere. I mean, its eyes and ears would be everywhere. Every camera, every microphone.
We should be controlling this technology and not let it get out of hand. And we should put limits on it, right? And I think, to me, that's a huge mistake, right? That essentially we have this technology that has all kinds of potential uses for good.
What all of this very sophisticated electronics are being used for now are to spy on us, to make sure that you don't criticize something that those at the top don't want criticized. And there goes another flying HK.
Yeah, look at it, Dad. It is Navy.
When T2 came out, that people were terrified of Skynet, now they welcome into their homes. We couldn't live without Skynet now, it's the internet.
There are those who believe that the machines we create are going to be Frankensteins.
Well, of course, the 3 laws of robotics were originally invented by me in order to avoid the Frankenstein motive, because before I wrote my stories, most robot stories were filled with this Frankenstein bit about the robot destroying its creator. There are some things that men were not meant to know. I was asked to write a robot story to end all robot stories, so I wrote one in which robots became so intelligent that by any reasonable definition, they defined themselves as human beings, you see. So that now the 3 laws of robotics became the 3 laws of humanics. And we're right back to the Frankenstein motif.